Hi all. I have this new ring light, so I feel very fancy and very excited for the topic today because it's just so useful. I feel like really blessed that I get to do this. Hey Miki, you're my favorite visitor. So yeah, today it's a very exciting. Remember, this is a 20 to 30 minute session about Codependent No More, the book written by Melody Beattie. And today we have chapter 6, which is it's about reaction, but the name of the chapter is Don't Be Blown About by Every Wind, which I feel very appropriate. But as usual, I always start with like some thoughts that I've had during the week that I wanted to share with you. Hola Ali. And So I wanted to talk about boundaries because that's something that I sort of like have been thinking a lot um, because of like, I don't know, we were talking about detachment, right? And one of the things that we need to detach from other is 100% setting boundaries. And setting boundaries is so difficult. For codependents at least. I mean, for everyone, I guess. And I was looking at this post from Unapologetically Surviving, which I have quoted before. And it was talking about when you need to like put your boundaries a little bit up, right? And it says like when you give more than you receive, which is the classic codependency thing. When you were abused as a child or something was expected from you, from your parents, you were expected to meet your parents' needs. So that would make you like potentially needing more boundaries. And then if you had like a narcissist or manipulator person in your life, it could be clearly your parents, but like people around you, friends or partners. And then if your profession is a giver, so I'm thinking about activists, teachers, like caregivers, people in the health system. We might, because we have talked about this, we have this light inside that we can help others, but if we're in these areas we might need to like put boundaries up. And so I thought that was very interesting. And it got me thinking about the differences between boundaries and defenses. So because they look alike, they're very similar. So sometimes when I think about a boundary, I start to think, am I defending myself? I'm like separating myself from others, and like why I'm doing this. And I was just trying to figure like an example for us to think about. And I was thinking, well, a boundary, for example, could be when you have a conversation that is tough, like even if you're fighting with someone. A boundary could be something about, can we take a break, or can we pause this conversation? Like, I'm not leaving the conversation, I feel my brain is going too fast, or I feel like fog in my brain, and so can we just pause? That sounds like a boundary. But then a defense would be just like not engaging with the conversation, because inside yourself there's something there that is true, or that you have done something that you don't want to see, and so you would like withdraw from the conversation instead of facing it. And so the differences between boundary and defense is tough, and only you can know, only you can feel it inside you. But I feel boundaries feel soft and feel coming from love, self-love and love for others, whereas defenses feel very separate, like it tries to separate you from others, it tries to create like a wall, and not a boundary, but more like a full wall. And so think about that, think about which of your reactions are healthy boundaries and which are just defenses. I think it gets tricky, but I believe it's interesting to think about that. And I was trying to remember an example that I told you all the first session, was that I got triggered with people that have anger issues, because that's how I grew up trying to manage that, right? And so I would get triggered when someone is not only like mad at me, but if they are just angry, I would feel my hands a little like cold, my feet cold, like I would feel my heart beating fast. And then so I know that I have a reaction to that anger. But then how this became a defense that is not loving, not unity. When someone gets mad at me for a reason that it's completely understandable, I would like react as I cannot deal with it, which is true because that's how I felt when I was little. But now my self trying to use that as a defense and not recognizing that the other person can feel angry, because that's like, we are allowed to have our emotions. That doesn't is not fair. So if I'm having like an issue with someone and someone is angry because I did something or not, I don't want to use my childhood against them or against myself. I want to step, like, of course, a boundary. If I'm in danger, I would just leave. But if it is something that we can talk about, I might just like think about boundary versus defense and try to manage that. So this is all like examples of what I'm trying to think about boundaries and versus like defenses. And something else that I wanted to talk about before the chapter is we have talked about the differences and like commonalities between love addiction and codependency. I know, for example, if you're gonna go to a meeting here, I'm in Austin, Texas. There is CODA, which is for codependence, and then you have SLA, which is sex and love addiction meetings, and they are different. But I kept researching, and I was feeling like the characteristics are very similar. And so I was just wanted to like share with you what labels are not important if they don't bring you anything, if they don't bring you healing. If you're using your label for like self feel bad with yourself, it doesn't work. But if for you it's useful to think about your codependency as an addiction, that might be something important for you. And I don't completely like think they are different. And I was like researching, and they both, the two terms kind of started in different moments in time. So codependency came from these places where the AA meetings, the Alcoholic Anonymous, would have people that need help but they are not alcoholics themselves, and so codependency sort of like started. And so sex and love addiction is different, and it started when we start to think what other things we can be addicted to, and love is one of them. And when I was thinking about that, I was like, well, there is a lot of periods of time where I'm single. Like I can tell you like 2 years and like, between relationships, which I was thinking, well, so that means I'm not addicted because, I can like not have those. But then I was like, well, that's tricky because, I feel like if I go and try to date someone, I go all in and it becomes my addiction. And so to like not do that, I just don't relate, And that seems like a little similar to when you have like issues with a substance or something. It's like you cannot drink one beer, but you have to go all the way, And I feel a little bit like that with my relationships. If I start dating, I go over the moon, and then I feel hurt, or I hurt others. And so just think about that. Think about what the addiction label could bring or not to you, and like if doesn't, just leave it, let it go. But something that I wanted to share with you, and the description for love addiction that I was having for a workshop with someone else is like constantly being with people that are unavailable emotionally, getting obsessed with the other person, toxic relationships, and all those things we have talked about here. So it's not as far as we think. Cool. So let's get to the juicy part, which is the chapter 6, right? About defenses and being reactionary. And I just read this and it hit me really. And I'm gonna just like share with you a little bits and snippets of the chapter. And so she says here, I reacted to other people's feelings, behaviors, problems, and thoughts. I reacted to what they might feel think or do, I reacted to my own feelings, my own thoughts, my own problems. Everything seemed like a crisis, and the two things that like spoke to me was like I overreacted, and sometimes I underreacted. So I think what like she's saying here, which I think is really important, is when you're codependent, everything is big, like you're sort of like in a constant crisis, you know. But when things get really bad, you would not react. And so that realization sort of like hit me because I tend to feel like everything would trigger me, and I'm constantly saying like, you know, everything triggers me. But then when real stuff happens that is where I need to respond, I would not do it. So for example, if you have a partner that is very irresponsible, you know, so little things would like make you feel angry or like reactive, but when they do something really tough, such as like put their life in danger, or if you have like a sex addict partner, like I don't know, have sex without protection or stuff like that, you don't react. And so that is very classic of us. And it happens because we grew up in crisis. Like we grew up in households that were very tough, and we got it to like keep it chill, you know. Inside ourselves, we would be very concerned, but in the outside, we'll be like, nothing is going on. And so that's how you constantly feel you're in a state of crisis, you know. And so, yeah, what she says is that most codependents are reactionaries. We react with anger, guilt, shame, self hate, worry, hurt, controlling gestures, caretaking acts, depression, desperation, and fury. So, of course, this thing about fear and reaction, anxiety, it's a big deal. But she says here some of us react so much it is painful to be around people, and tortures to be in large groups of people. So remember when we were talking about this empath, the classic idea that there are folks that are empaths, and I think that could be true, but codependents are also empaths, and we get very tired when we share for a long time with a lot of people because we absorb all their feelings, we feel guilty for everything that's going on. And this also idea of the introverts that need a lot of time in their own, hey Vivian, that is also and could be something about codependency, you know. If you feel like you gotta stay more at home, close home, and not share because it's too much sharing, there might be something going on there. And so I was thinking that's interesting. And yeah, like if you have your muscles are tense constantly, I would look at that. I feel like I have a chronic pain in my neck, and my back really hurts me. And I feel like, and a lot of people have told me like, yeah, you carry the burden or whatever, the whole world. And that's true. That's true. Like the way I feel like my muscles are tense has to do with this. So if you have that, check it out. And so the idea is that if someone does something, we need to do something back. Or if someone says something, we need to say something back. Or someone feels something, we gotta respond. And so that's how we, like, our whole life is about responding to others instead of just living our own life, you know. And it's interesting because you can get in this like world a lot of excuses for being a reactionary. I think like living in a world of racism, transphobia, machismo, so many things, you can be pissed every day, every time, you know, like politicians. I'm from Colombia, like situation in Colombia, the police, I mean, you if you want, you can be pissed, the whole day, and then that doesn't work for you either, or for anyone actually. And so the thing that she says here is that we are being controlled, right? So when we have this reactionary sort of being, you don't have your own life, but external circumstances are controlling it. And so I feel that's important. And one thing that I believe here it's important to remind ourselves is that when you're triggered and you're responding as a reaction to other, you are not necessarily acting in your best interest, she says here, which is something that really resonated with me because I feel like I have to respond, but then I do things that put me in danger or vulnerable or like in a bad position, and I just didn't think about it. And so the thing that is here most important, I think, is to pause And the power of the pause is so strong, because it's not like, okay, now I know I should not respond, to reaction to everything. It doesn't work like that. It's not that you think about it and so now it's gonna stop happening. I still get triggered with a lot of things, but the thing is that I pause and I observe myself, and I don't react necessarily. Sometimes I just can't. I'm telling you, obviously, but it's not that you're gonna stop feeling what you feel, because that would be not you. It's just that you hold yourself in there and see what's going on, and you don't necessarily act immediately. And I think that's the key, is the pause. And that's why, if you have codependency issues, it's very frustrating because you don't know how to react to things that feel off. Like, you would take a long time to, like, oh, this is not okay. And so it's frustrating because we live in a world where you're expected to answer everything fast. And that's not true. Sometimes when we are triggered and something unfair is happening, we might not be able to respond appropriately right away. But you can take your time. You can go back and say that to that person, like, hey, what you told me yesterday actually was not okay. And that's fine. It's not that if you don't do it in the right moment, then you cannot do it. That's not how it works. So, like, give yourself a little bit of credit that you can speak up for yourself, even if it is not immediately. I think that's good. And something that I do relate a lot here, she says, give yourself and others room to move, to talk, to be who they are, to be human. Give life a chance to happen. Give yourself an opportunity to enjoy it. I think as we codependents tend to want to control everything and make everything perfect, we don't let others just be them. And I feel like I do that a lot, where I ask my friends to be perfect, and I ask my partners to be perfect, and I just don't leave them room for being themselves, and that's not fair. And so what happens if you just don't react? What happens if that person that behaves oddly, or that is drinking, or that is being cheating on you, what happens if you don't react, and if you wait? Maybe if you stop reacting, you're gonna see the real problem, which is, oh, maybe I should leave this person because this person has a sex addiction and that's not good for me, or this person is this or that. But when you get all caught in, like, the reaction of every time, you forget about the big picture. That's how we ended up in relationships that are not good for us. Remember, I was talking about the ex-partner syndrome last session, where you would stay with hola Leah, you would stay with a person that doesn't do you good, and then you might just, like, break up with them, but then you feel connected and you haven't stopped, just because everything, you're reacting to every single thing instead of looking at the big picture. And I think that's important. Something that I've learned in my spiritual training has to do with the hard pain versus the soft pain. So when something really small is happening that is hurtful for you, there is a soft pain that you have to feel. But when you're so scared of feeling the pain, you would overimpose a hard pain and make everything a drama. I'm a Leo and I'm a drama queen, I'm sure. And so everything is big for me. But in that big thing, I'm just not feeling the soft pain, which is the real one. I'm making everything big, and that is not helpful necessarily. She gives us here some advice that I think is really great, and I wanted to share. First is, don't take other people's behaviors as reflections of your self-worth. So remember, if someone acts a certain way, it doesn't mean anything about your value. That's so hard. Like, it seems silly to say, but it's really difficult. Don't take rejection as a reflection of your self-worth. So I think the best thing to deal with rejection is just feel it. Just feel it. Like, and you will see it doesn't kill you. I feel like, oh my God, if someone rejects me, I'm gonna be so sad. I'm like, yeah, but then it's okay. And so we don't have to take things personally, is the other. And you have heard about this, I'm sure, but I was thinking about an example. we have a group text, or I don't, well, it's a group, and then someone share like Gloria Gaynor's, the washing the hands and stuff, which is a great video. And when I was watching it, I thought, well, but you should like close the faucet because water is important. You don't want to have 20 seconds of water running, right? And I thought that, but I didn't say anything. And someone else in the group just say it because we were thinking about it. And the person who shared the video felt attacked. He's like, oh, why this person is always critiquing me? Why? And I was like feeling compassion because I could be like that. And I can see also that it's not personal. Like we were just having an opinion, and that happens a lot. And so that's a tough one. And I think the important that I wanted to share also is this is not about not doing anything. This is not like, oh, if you're gonna get attacked by a person, so then you like leave them attack you and take your heart out. No, it's not. It's learning when you have to actually act and when you don't. That's kind of like the idea. And then if you constantly say things like, oh, that person make me feel or make me do, you might have something there. I think some of the, when we communicate with friends, we're like, and this person just made me feel so angry. And then some other friend would say like, they didn't made you, like you are angry yourself. And so the 3 steps, and I'm close to closing. It's first is to learn to recognize when you're reacting. So everything here has to do with awareness. You need to know when you're triggered. If you're done, no, you have a long way to go. So you gotta know how your body feels when you're triggered, what thoughts are racing or what's going on. You have to know. So that's the first one. The second one is make yourself comfortable. So remember, I was telling you, if you're fighting with someone and you have to take a break, not leave the conversation, not avoid the conversation, but take a break to feel yourself again, you should do it. I have classes because I'm doing a PhD here, and I have classes where someone says something racist or transphobic, and I will feel the impulse. Man, it's like I want to jump and say something. I feel so ungrounded. And that's nothing coming from there is useful, so I have to stand up, drink some water, go to the restroom, breathe, and then come back and say my truth from a place of groundiness. And I can know that because if I'm not grounded, I would be shaking or like feel my heart beating fast. But when I'm speaking my truth from like a very centered position, I feel I'm grounded. So if you have had classes with me, seminars, it's very difficult for me. Like I would get triggered and hola Pablo, I would just go all over the place, and that's not useful for anyone. And then the third step here is examine what happened and see what you have to do. And so I was thinking on an example about me. I acted in a way that was unfair to someone, but at some point, and I was blaming, like I acted like this because this person did this and did that, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh I did the wrong thing. And so I examined what happened and I apologized, but not only apologized, because as codependents, we know alcoholics would say I'm sorry for 10,000 million times and it doesn't mean anything. So you apologize and then you see how you can repair the situation. Hola, Helen. You would say, well, I did this and that. I'm sorry for this, and this is what I'm gonna do to repair, what I did. And so that is a bliss, and it's really good. And she says here that discussing with friends help to clear your thoughts and emotions. And I was not a fan of this before. I would get all in my own triggers and my own issues, and I would never share with people because I felt shame or something. And now I feel my friends are such a gift, because when I talk to them, they would give me some reality check. They would be like, Siri, I think you're like a little, like you're going over a little bit. And that's very helpful. And that's why you need friends who can trust you, like that you can trust in, and that they are able to tell you when you're off. If you have friends that only say, yes, you're right, and go over with you in your feelings. That is not necessarily useful. So those three things I believe are very useful. And then the last one here, she says, figure out what you need to do to take care of yourself. And so this is what I was telling you, that if you have to go from the place you're in, go ahead. If you have, she's like, take a trip, or and then you can think about what to do. And if you have triggers as I do every day, well, you're gonna have to learn how to take care of yourself multiple times a day, and that's okay. If that's what you need, that's fine. Just try not to respond from a place of fear or anxiety, because that doesn't work. And the last advice here is to slow down. Slow down. Really, the pause, the slowing down is just a gift. And so this is it for today. The activities that we have here on the book that are very useful is just thinking about your reactions. Like, do you react to everything, to the news, to the TV, to your partner, to your friend, to your cat, to your dog? Just like observe that and go and see how much attachment you're putting on those reactions. And then think about activities that help you feel peace. That's the third and last activity that she says here. So I think this is very useful. I felt really connected, and that sounds good. For the next session, we're gonna have set yourself free, and we're gonna see what that brings to us. Thank you all for connecting. Sending a lot of love. Bye.